Hey guys, welcome to Algonaut in the studio. My name is Tim Curran, and today we're going to be looking at making a UK garage house track with a donk bass, some drums, and some chords. So let's start with the bass. I'm going to be using Massive since everyone has Massive. So what we need to make a garage donk bass is an FM synth, or at least one that has the capabilities of FM modulation. Let's start making this and you'll see what I mean. So we need to set the first oscillator to sine wave. By doing that, by dialing it left. And now we're going to play with this modulation oscillator, and we're going to set the phase to oscillator 1. So this is actually setting up an FM routing sort of system between the modulation oscillator and oscillator 1. If you had another FM synth, what you'd basically be doing is using two oscillators and having one feeding into the other. So this is kind of acting as our second oscillator. So I'm going to get the envelope now and attach this to the phase amount and dial it to halfway. Put the level to 0, decay a bit shorter, attack to 0. What have we got? Let's play the key on the keyboard. Let's see, we'll do it in F. Too high, still too high. Alright, we're getting there. Let's put the utility on this just to boost the volume a bit. Okay, so the next thing to consider is the octave distance between the two oscillators. So essentially, on the second oscillator, you're going to either choose 1 octave or 2. Those are kind of the two better sounding ones. So I'm going to push this up to 12, see what it sounds like. Well, look at that. We're basically there. What does 2 octaves sound like? 24. Getting a bit dubsteppy, but we'll just dial this back. Also a pretty good option. Might give it some release, a bit on the volume envelope, which is the 4th envelope. And also on the 1st envelope. Not too bad. Whoa, dude. I'll just try this back down at 12. I mean, that's basically it. I'm going to stick with 12. It's a bit softer. If you went at 0 at the same oscillator, it's just muted basically. The higher the octave, the more punch it's going to have. We'll go with 12. And that's your donk bass line. So no filtering at all. Here's a trick as well to give it a bit more snap. I'm going to group this with itself, and we're going to dial in, we're going to layer it with a kick drum. So I'm going to go to Vengeance Sound. Let's just use Deep House, bass drums. We're going to find a kick drum with a strong transient. That's got something at the start. We'll use this. So I'm going to dial it in, I'm going to solo it. So if I press the same notes, okay, it's too low, so we're going to pitch this up using the pitch MIDI device. Just going to chuck that in front of that sampler, the simpler. We'll go up to, like, say, I think I'm basically down 2 octaves from C3, so I'll go 2 octaves back up. Okay, it's basically the kick drum now at the same sort of pitch. Let's chuck on an EQA to kind of tweak that a bit. We don't actually want the bass from this kick drum, so I'm going to cut out the bass. And also the ultra highs, which we don't need. Cool, and I'm going to unsolo it. I might actually give it a bit of an envelope since it's got a bit of a tail on that kick drum. It's adding some noise. So we'll change this to classic. Turn the sustain to 0 or minus infinity. And see, now we have that nice click on top of that bass drum. Sorry, bass line. Turn it off. Muted. Snap. And that'll help get to cut through in the mix. So that's basically laying a kick drum with an FM donk bass line made in Massive. Cool, let's get some drums going. I'm going to use Atlas just because it's quick and easy. Atlas. Alright, let's get a MIDI clip going. Okay, Garage 1. Let's make a new kit. I might load on a different map. I'm going to load up Paradise Rinse. This is a machine sample pack that is based around UK garage and house and stuff. So I'm going to load that map. Cool. I'm going to go default, new kit. And what have we got? It's not even that bad, except for that vocal. Well, it's actually quite cool, but you know what? I'm going to keep that vocal in there. That's sick. All right. So just to talk about the pattern a little bit, essentially, it's just a basic 4 to the floor house beat with your kick, some kick, clap, hat, offbeat hat. But what makes it garage is that really syncopated snare. So you can put, if I play it here, in this case it's just a weird tom thing. I'll change it in the Atlas. That's more of a snare. All right. So you can see the pattern here. Yeah, and then obviously a really punchy short kick, and just your classic 909 offbeat hat. It's basically garage drums. So let's get a bass line going. We'll record something. Pretty cool. Alright, that'll do. Alright, I'm just going to quantize that. Command A, Command U. Sweet. Let's hear it again. Turn it down. I might just split that kick out so I can do a bit of side chaining. So, kick, send it out, channel 2. Alright, we need a new audio channel. Atlas, channel 2, monitor in. There's our kick. Just going to give it a bit of utility to boost the volume, gain up, and then side chaining on the bass line. Pro tip, by the way, if you hold Command, you can actually solo isolated channels rather than just one. So I've just soloed the kick and the bass line. It's quite handy. Compressor. That's obviously way too much. Cool. The other thing you can probably add as well is swing. Garage has heaps of swing in it. So I'm going to open up the groove pool. We'll just right click our browse groove library. We're going to grab swing folder, and I tend to use the 1699 one. That's basically 99%, but I dial it back down using the global amount. It's kind of handy for other reasons I might go into another time. So I'm just going to drag this onto both elements and then dial it up to like 40. It's actually pretty good. All right. Now we're going to make some chords, the classic sort of garage house chords, kind of disclosure kind of chords. So again, it's going to put out our trusty massive. Okay, so basically to make that sort of classic garage chord, it's just a sine wave again, and we're going to chuck a MIDI device in front of this massive so that every time you press in one note, it's going to play a chord. You can imagine back in the day when they're making garage house, they would have just found a chord sample, loaded it onto like an MPC or something, and just played it chromatically, just going up and down. So it's not technically within a scale, you're just shifting a chord up and down the keyboard, but it is that kind of classic house vibe. So we've got a sine wave, playing it in F. We're going to add some notes to that. So I'm playing the root note, so we're going to add the third note in the scale, and also the fifth note in the scale, which is 7 semitones up. So this is now just a classic minor triad. Sweet. I might also add the second note in the scale. Gives it a bit of weird tension. Let's chuck on some chorus. Give it a bit of stereo spread. And some reverb as well. Cool. I'm just gonna have a bit of a, just gonna wing it and try and record something so we get it down. Oh, actually, before I do that, let's try to layer this with one other kind of tool that you tend to find in old school garage house as well, which is just those classic piano sounds. And the way to do that is kind of product centric, but I highly recommend you buy it, and that is the Korg M1 plugin. It's only $50 from the Korg website, but it gives you the classic old school sounds for any genre really. But what we want now is piano. So I'll turn this chord device off and just solo it in this little group thing I've made, this layering thing. Okay, so I'm gonna go Program, Browser. So this is just, if you use Combeat, you get these weird combination presets. I just wanted the single preset, just a program, go into the browser, M1 house piano. There we go, there's your classic, highly compressed piano. If I check on the chord device again, great. We'll layer it in with the other chord, the other sound we made. Sweet. Let's get into the mix. I'm just going to wing it now and record something. Okay. Just tidy it up a little bit. Is that good enough? That'll do the job. I mean, obviously you can come up with your own melody and your own pattern, all that kind of stuff. Essentially, this is a 4-bar melody, and you could do what I've done. You could layer the piano with the chords, or just have the chords on their own, or just the piano on their own. That definitely sounds more classic UK garage, and that's about it. So we've got drums, bass, and chords. And that's the basics of a UK garage house track. Thanks for watching.